Hello everybody, and welcome to the Badhumanist look at Protection Paladin. In this video, I'm going to be going through the talents and abilities that the Prot Paladin has, looking at things like, base toolkits, utility, synergy, usefulness, how fun they are. I'll take a look at the basic rotation, kind of show you how this Prot Paladin stacks up against the target dummy. Dive into the stats, again, not giving any kind of, hard, concrete, this stat's better than that stat, but just a sense of, this is what the stat will do to the spec. At the end, I will kind of sum everything up, give my overall thoughts, as well as maybe some look for the future of how the Prot Paladin might fare in Battle for Azeroth. So let's start off with our passives. So first passive here is our Mastery Divine Bulwark. Interesting. So reduces all damage taken while inside your concentration by a certain percent and increases your chance to block melee attacks by a certain percent. Now, these are two separate things. So you don't have to be in the concentration to gain the block chance. The block chance is separate. Both things, of course, do increase with Mastery, as well as increasing your attack power. But the concentration part is very interesting. So again, 10% reduction in damage is nice, but only in the concentration. Now, you are definitely able to keep concentration up all the time. It's a very short cooldown that lasts much longer. So, yeah, that's not going to be a problem to be able to keep up. If you have a weak ore that basically is going to be tracking this to make sure that you always kind of keep it up. So, yes. But that is interesting that, again, when you put your concentration down, you have to stand in it to be able to kind of gain the mastery. You kind of see that. It reduces damage by 9.9%. Heart of the Crusader, you move faster while mounted, does not stack with anything else. Grand Crusader, when you avoid a melee attack or use Hammer of the Righteous, you have a 25% chance to reset the remaining cooldown on Avenger's Shield. So again, Avenger's Shield being right here, which again does damage, and again can even do some other things as well, which we'll talk about in a little bit here. So again, anytime you use Hammer of the Righteous, so again, right here, you then allow yourself a chance to be able to kind of reset that Avenger's Shield. Shield of the Righteous, this is your main kind of like active mitigation, if you will. So they've just tuned this a little bit. So there's a 15-second recharge with a maximum of 3 charges. Slams the enemy in front of you with a shield, causing holy damage and increasing your armor by a flat amount for 4.5 seconds. Now, the armor mount does, of course, scale up as you level in gear. Again, the uptime is about 25% total. Again, haste does reduce increase the uptime. It reduces, of course, the recharge, therefore increasing the uptime. It went from a 20-second 5 to, I think, like a 4.5, 18 or something like that. And so, yeah, they kept the uptime the same. It's just it lasts a bit less, and the recharge they also reduced to kind of even that out. Redemption, so brings a dead ally back to life with 35% of maximum health and mana. Same thing we've always seen. Rebuke is your interrupt. Lay on Hands is here, 10-second cooldown. It basically gives you a full heal, causes forbearance. Judgment, cooldown reduced by haste. Judges the target, dealing holy damage and reducing the remaining cooldown of Shield of the Righteous by 2 seconds, or 4 on a critical strike. So again, when you judge, you can reduce the cooldown for your upkeep. But again, crit does help. Hand of the Protector, this is of course a talent that modifies Light of the Protector, which again is a self-heal. I'll talk about that in a second. Hand of Reckoning commands the attention of an enemy target, forcing them to attack you. This is your taunt, obviously. Hammer of the Righteous, so again, there are 2 charges. Short cooldown, reduced by haste. Hammers the current target for physical damage. While you're standing in your concentration, Hammer of the Righteous also causes a wave of light that hits all other targets within 8 yards for a certain amount. So again, it does do some AoE damage when you're standing in the consecration. Hammer of Justice is, of course, a stun. Guardian Vision Kings, 5-minute cooldown. So it reduces all damage you take by 50% for a second. So very strong, but again, very long cooldown. Flash of Light, just a basic self-heal on yourself. Again, costs about a quarter of your total mana. Divine Steed, now I'm talented Crusade for 2 charges, but again, harp on your charger for 3 seconds, increases movement speed. Divine Shield, again, another kind of immunity that gives forbearance, 5-minute cooldown. Consecration, so again, I already showed this off earlier, puts a concentration beneath you, causing a interesting number of holy damage. over 12 seconds to enemies who enter the area. Now, again, you only can have one of these down at a time. So basically, if one's down and I move over here and then the cooldown resets and I drop it again, like it moves it basically. So again, you can't have it up all over the place. But again, you'll see when I go in, I get the mastery. When I go out, I lose the mastery. Cleanse toxins. So again, the ability to remove poison and disease effects off myself or anyone else. Blessing of Sacrifice. So again, blesses a party or raid member, reducing their damage taken by 30%, but you suffer 100% of the damage prevented. Again, lasts for 12 seconds or until transfer damage would cause you to fall below 20% health. So this can be used in a way on other tanks. It can be used, again, on other players who are absorbing damage. So again, some definite interesting raid utility here. 2-minute cooldown. Bop. Same old bop. 5-minute cooldown, causes forbearance. Yeah. Creates an immunity to physical damage and harmful effects. Blessing of Freedom. So again, you can reduce or immune any kind of movement impairing effects. 25-second cooldown. Avenging Wrath. This is interesting. So again, calls upon the light, right? Becoming an avatar, increasing your damage, healing, and crit strike by 20%. So interesting cooldown here. So again, the healing portion would of course help tanking in the sense of survivability, right? It's going to help buff your healing, and again, the increased crit's going to also increase the chance to be able to crit with your healing for something like, again, Hand of the Protector or Light of the Protector, something like that. Other than that, though, it's just a damaging cooldown, which I think is very interesting for a tank to have. Again, we saw something like this with Blood Death Knight in the last expansion with their Dancing Rune weapons, but that now has been changed to much more of an actual tanking cooldown, whereas this has a little bit of tanking synergy, but it's really just a DPS cooldown. So again, very interesting, and that's going to be kind of a theme here with the Prot Paladin, where they have a lot of abilities to help increase their tanking prowess. Their DPS prowess while tanking. Avenger's Shield. So again, you hurl a shield at an enemy, dealing holy damage that interrupts or silences them for 3 seconds, and then it jumps to nearby enemies. And again, it increases the effect of your next Shield of the Righteousness by 20%. So again, when you use this, your next Shield of Righteousness gets more increased armor, which is quite nice. Hardened Defender, 2-minute cooldown, reduces all damage you take by 20% for 8 seconds. While it's active, the next attack that would otherwise kill you would instead bring you to 20% health. So this is a very short cooldown, but yet very useful in the sense of it does reduce all damage. So you'll notice here, there's no like physical damage cooldown. It's all damage cooldowns here. We have 2 of them, and it can even have the Divine Shield technically as well. So definitely we're going to have to see that there's really good spell cooldowns, which is something that, again, we don't see in every other tank. Again, of course, their active is still just armor, which would not affect anything, and they have block, which doesn't affect it, but we'll see how they can actually even talent into things to help their spell reduction damage even more. Let's jump right into that. So right off the bat, Holy Shield. Your block chance is just increased by 15%, and you're able to block spells, and in your successful blocks, deal holy damage to your attacker. This is amazing. It's an amazing talent because, again, on a fight that has a lot of spell damage, or on a fight where, again, you have like someone who's doing consistent kind of spell damage, this is just amazing, right? Now you're able to kind of reduce the damage of all those spells through block, again, when you do block. So it increases your block chance. It gives you your ability to block spells. This makes it a very good spell tank. So readout. Avenger's Shield bounces to one additional target, increases your block by 75% for 8 seconds. So again, when you're not caring about spell damage, you can just increase your block. Now again, the ability has a 12-second cooldown. This lasts for 8 seconds. So the uptime this is already pretty high, but remember, you can actually again reset the cooldown of some of these things as well. So again, we'll talk about that again in a little bit. Blessed Hammer, so this replaces Hammer of the Righteous, so it throws a Blessed Hammer that spirals outward. Again, we've all seen this before, right? Looks like that. That deals holy damage to enemies and weakening them, reducing the damage you take from their next auto attack by 12%. There's 3 charges. So again, it gives you an extra charge of that Hammer of the Righteous as well. 30 row, First Avenger. Avenger's Shield now deals increased damage to the first target hit, and it now has an additional 10% chance to occur. So again, you can see increased damage done, always very nice, but also it helps with that Grand Crusader, which again, going back to our passives here, is the ability for Hammer of the Righteousness to reset Avenger's Shield. So again, that basically is going to lead to a higher uptime possibility of readout. So you can kind of see the synergy between those two. Crusader's Judgment. Judgment now has 2 charges, and Grand Crusader now also grants a charge of Judgment. So basically, again, now not only do you gain the reset on Avenger's Shield, but you also will gain a charge, again, of Judgment to kind of keep your Judgment up. Judgment's important because it helps reduce the cooldown, keep your uptime on Shield of Righteousness. So again, very, very important there. Last one is Bastion of Light, 2-minute cooldown. It just gives you 3 charges of Shield of Righteousness on 2 minutes. So again, it allows you to kind of empty out your charges and then pop this and have 3 all over again. So it can kind of really, if you need uptime on this for a period of time, that's of course a great way of doing that. 45 row. So Fist of Justice, again, just reduces the Judgment, reduces the remaining cooldown of Hammer of Justice. Repentance, again, it's an Incapacitate, 15-second cooldown. Blinding Light is a kind of AoE disorient, does not break with holy damage, what I meant to say, 1.5-minute cooldown. 60 row, so we have Ret Aura, so again, you and your allies are protected. That lashes out, dealing holy damage to anyone who attacks you. Cavalier, Divine Sleep now has 2 charges, and then Blessing of Spell Warding. So here we have a 3-minute cooldown, does cause forbearance, but it gives any party or raid member immunity to magical damage. So again, if there's a big, like, single target tank AoE, or not AoE, but single target tank smash, that's the magical damage effect, this could be very, very, very useful. And again, it can even be put on the off tank. You don't have to use it yourself. You could give it to the off or the other tank, not even the off tank, the other tank. And again, that way you don't give yourself forbearance in it. So yeah, there's definitely some really good uses for this for, again, a certain fights that have spell damage. Final Stand, when you use Divine Shield, you also taunt all targets within 15 yards for 8 seconds. That's kind of useful. Again, like, you can use Divine Shield. You're going to be immune to damage for 8 seconds, and you're also going to taunt everything. So that's very, very useful, again, for getting a bunch of things off and going to be able to survive big pulls, basically. So again, Mythic Plus definitely is going to have some usefulness there. Unbreakable Spirit just reduces the cooldown of Divine Shield, Argent Defender, and Lay of Hands by 30%. Again, still definitely very useful for tanking. And then Hand of Protector, this of course replaces Light of the Protector. So Light of the Protector normally just calls down light to heal you for an amount increased by up to 200% based on your remaining health with a 16-second cooldown. Hand of the Protector, again, calls down a light to heal, same amount, same increased, but again, now it's a 12-second cooldown. So again, basically this just decreases the cooldown for Hand of the Protector by 4 seconds. So you have it more often. So again, what people go with here, I'm not going to be quite sure. It could be Unbreakable Spirit just to get that reduced cooldown on the Divine Shield. Again, Final Stand is definitely going to be very useful for Mythic Plus. I don't see it being too useful in raiding situations. In fact, it might be bad in raiding situations in some cases. Whereas this makes sense. Hand of Protector also does as well, but we'll see there's other ways of reducing Light of Protector's cooldown. And the question is going to really come, do you need it that often, right? Do you need the self-heal every 4 seconds, basically, or 12 seconds instead of 16 seconds? If not, this would probably be really strong, because again, reducing lay on hands to 7 minutes makes it so you might be able to use it twice in longer fights instead of a 10-minute cooldown. Again, Divine Shield goes down to 3.5 from 5. That makes it a much more useful ability. You can use it probably at least twice in most fights then, as well as the ability to reduce down Archer Defender, which again, let me pull that up. There we go. Which now goes from a 2-minute to a 1.4-minute cooldown. So again, that's a very, very useful all damage reduction kind of cooldown there. 90 row, Judgment of the Light. Judgment now causes the next 25 successful attacks to heal the attacker for 75 for a very small amount. The healing on this is a bit low. This almost could be doubled, I think, and still be fine. Again, the damage that people are going to be doing, that percent's so minimal, it's not that important. Consecrated Ground, your consecration is larger, and enemies within it have 50% reduced movement speed. So this is nice because, again, your consecration is now larger. So again, you can actually move around a bit more and not lose your mastery, as well as the fact as you get movement reduction inside of it. So again, definitely some good Mythic Plus utility there. Just in general, again, I think the larger on its own has value there. Aegis of Light, this is an interesting kind of talent here. So again, when you use this, right, you create that kind of like shield effect, and you're able to, but again, it does move with you, protect people behind you. So there are some fights where I could think of uses for this. Again, Argus in the very beginning, I could think even Agrimar if you're the off tank during the dance, right? There's some times when you're actually going to have the raid behind you. Now, it is only 10 yards behind you. So, again, that's so perfect for, again, the stacking situations, right? It's like a Agrimar, for example. So there's some cases where this might be useful, but it's still a 3-minute cooldown. So again, it's going to be one of those things where how valuable is this? Because normally behind you isn't much, right? There might be some range raid people, but in general, you don't find too many people behind the tank. Yeah. 100 row. So we have Last Defender. Each enemy within 8 yards reduces your damage you take and increases the damage you deal. So again, more damage for the Paladin. Great Mythic Plus talent. Again, every target you have reduces the damage that you take. Up to, again, increase damage you deal up by up to 30%. So again, you can get that nice damage reduction as well as the increased damage done per target around you. Righteous Protector, so Shield of the Righteousness reduces the remaining cooldown of Light of the Protector and Avenging Wrath by 3 seconds. So again, here now, your main kind of active mitigation is reducing the cooldown of Light of the Protector as well as Avenging Wrath. So again, you get some damage out of it, right? So again, it's interesting. This whole row is a very much like damage while tanking abilities. Seraphim, 4 things cooldown. So it increases your power, increases your haste, critical strike, mastery, and versatility by a flat amount, like 250 basically, and it consumes up to 2 charges of your Shield of Righteousness and lasts 8 seconds. Now, this is definitely more of a if you need damage, not survivability talent. But again, that's just a very interesting thing for a tank to have, the ability to go for more damage. So again, if you're an off tank on a fight where, yeah, you're not going to be needing the survivability, maybe you actually have some certain jobs where you can survive a little bit easier, take this, and you can do more damage and help the raid out. Or again, Mythic Plus, if you get to the point to where you don't need survivability, take this, you do more damage. Great. All right. So let's wait a bit for Age of the Light to reset. I'm going to take Consecrated Ground again. I'm going to kind of show you on the tanking dummy over here how the Prot Paladin might work out. So again, I have found in my testing for the Prot Paladin has middle of the ground self-sustain. Again, basically against Tower Dummy, it's all self-sustain. Now, it should be noted that in general, tank self-sustain is reduced in BfA as opposed to in Legion. So you are going to need healings far more frequently. But again, we can at least take a look at their ability and how they can reduce damage when they're not having active healing. And again, them having Light of the Protector, again, I think is valuable here. Again, Hand of Protector might technically work a little bit better on this kind of encounter because I'm not going to be living long enough to get the benefit out of the reduced cooldowns here. But I do think Unbreakable Spirit, again, might end up being the better talent in general when you actually have a healer there. If Hand of Protector buffed the heal in some way, shape, or form, that might make this, of course, a better talent. But again, let's just take that to, again, kind of help our self-sustain here. All right. Well, of course, you're going to, want to put down your concentration about as quickly as you possibly can. Get that active mitigation up, heal yourself back up. There's a nice big heal there. There we go. Heal myself up again. Let's Avenging Wrath, get some damage out. Make sure I keep that up. Let's actually just Divine Shield. So again, it is a bit of a whack-a-mole to some degree here, but again, that's perfectly fine. Just keep concentration up. Let's get some Art Defender on. Heal myself up. Lay of Hands there. Get some of that going. So again, by no means am I playing this perfectly, but again, just kind of showing you the ability to really, again, keep yourself alive for quite a decently long time here. And possibly just heal myself a little bit there. There we go. So let's look at that. Minute 42 seconds. That's actually really good. So for some comparison here, Warrior only had about something like 45 to 30 seconds. Monk was in the same boat, maybe a little bit longer than Monk, and the Monk like a minute. Now, both the Demon Hunter and the Death Knight had about 230 to 245, but that's their design. They took way more damage in their hits. You can even kind of see over here on the left-hand side how the damage intake was not too high, right? So again, Uber Strike, of course, does help buff a little bit, but you can see the second I was able to get the Atom Negation up, it drops right back down to being a very reasonable amount of damage there. We were seeing, you know, these 7-8k melee hits with the Death Knight and Demon Hunter towards the end. They just have the ability to heal themselves better to kind of keep themselves alive. So again, their health is really good, but they're more likely to die from, you know, some kind of, you know, stray hit or not being healed up or not having the resources they need. Again, Death Knight's really bad about not having really power at times. So yeah, that definitely was a big piece. You can see the damage here now. Again, I wasn't in the best kind of build probably for damage. I wasn't really focusing, of course, on my damage there as well. Again, Crusader's Judgment does help you do more damage. A couple other talents as well. Blessed Hammer, for example. It also does a bit more damage as well. So you can get the damage up to be very competitive. Again, I was seeing about 1.3 out of Demon Hunter Death Knight. You can get about the same, if not more, if you take those DPS talents. But that option is just nice. In general, though, I really think the Paladin is a well-rounded. Kind of moving into the stats now, this is what I really like. Because almost every stat has some interesting synergy. Mastery. Flat damage reduction, right? Increases your block chance. Increases your attack power. All good things. Again, as long as you're in concentration, there's no reason why you shouldn't be while tanking. Because again, with the short cooldown, unless you have to hit it and then run out immediately, you're going to be able to put it back down wherever you are. So you should almost always have that mastery. In fact, we can actually take a look. I wasn't the best, I'm sure, at our uptimes here. So again, Redoubt had a 55% uptime. That could probably be a bit better if I played better. Shield of the Righteous, again, 50% uptime. That's about what you would expect, actually, from this. Could probably be a little bit better, though, as well. There's definitely talent to increase that as well. Where is the... what is it called? Here it is. Concentration, 81%. So again, I could have been better. Should be closer to 100% there, of course. But yeah, you can definitely see uptimes are pretty decent for what we're looking at here. Again, yeah, the readouts should have been a lot better than what I had. So I could have survived even longer, possibly. But yeah, so mastery, good value there. Versatility, always good for tanks. Because again, you're a self-healing tank too. So that healing done is going to help you. The damage is going to help you. Decreasing damage taken, going to help you. So again, versatility, I think, very, very useful here as well. Haste, yeah. Shield of the Righteousness, reduced by haste. Hammer of the Righteous, reduced by haste. Avenger Shield, reduced by haste. Judgment, reduced by haste. Hand of the Protector, reduced by haste. So you see how all your abilities are reduced by haste. Consecration, reduced by haste. So not a single ability isn't reduced by haste. Now, there are definitely going to be some calculations as far as haste amounts that can help make rotations seamless, help keep up times what we need them to be. But again, haste has great utility across the board. Also, of course, increases your damage done, which is never anything to sneeze at. Crit. Crit is very useful because remember, crit on judgments gives you more reduction on Shield of the Righteous. So again, every single talent you have has that. Also, by the way, increases your parry, which again, every time you avoid something helps to the ability to kind of get your resets again from, where was it? From the passive Grand Crusader, right? So you can get those cooldowns reductions on Avenger Shield, sorry, with extra crit as well. Because again, parry chance would count as avoiding, as of course would dodge. But it's very hard to get dodge as a plate wear. Because again, your strength gives you parry, whereas like agi gives you dodge. So your leather tanks tend to have more dodge. Plate tanks tend to have more parry. All right, so here are my overall thoughts. So I was actually quite surprised with the how much I like the Protection Paladin. Um, Again, I'm gonna eventually do like a tank rank video. I think in general that idea is kind of dumb. I actually think all the tanks are pretty decently balanced. There will of course be some that are better than others for certain encounters, certain kind of fights and such. But I really think the Paladin is a strong tank. I definitely think that they're in a better place than they were last expansion, especially comparatively to the other tanks that I've tried out. The only tank I have yet to try out, by the way, is Guardian Druid, which Druid class is coming up next. So compared to every other tank that I've tried, yeah, they're definitely right up there. They're a very different tank than, say, your Death Knight or your Demon Hunter, but they have the kind of self-sustain like they do. And their cooldowns are great against everything. So again, as far as a spell tank is concerned, there are ways of speccing where you'll be an amazing, strong spell tank without sacrificing too much in terms of your regular tankiness as far as melee abilities or physical damage. So again, they also bring good utility with, again, things like Blessing of Sacrifice and Blessing of Freedom. Again, you could put this on an off tank. You can put this on a person who's soaking, if there is soaking. Again, you have the ability, if you want to cleanse yourself of poison and diseases. So all these things are definitely things that are very useful. And again, there's so much damage increased through their talents and through abilities where if you're not tanking, you can really be pumping out that damage and really helping, again, your raid kill the boss faster. So I really, really, really like the way that the Protection Paladin here is built. So if you like this video, go ahead and give me a like. If you dislike the video, go give me a dislike. If you want to see more videos like this, please go ahead and subscribe. Of course, if you agree or disagree with me and want to leave comments, let me know down in the comment section. Druid is the next class. Holy Paladin video still will probably be coming out sometime soon around this video as well. So again, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in my future videos.